The Baltimore Ravens went into Cleveland, and we'll put the criteria, or we'll say, just get it out right now. Deshaun Watson didn't play, so that's a huge mark on this game.
There were one more if he played.
yeah. But the Ravens go into Cleveland, and they win that game 28-3, and absolutely manhandled the Browns. Dorian Thompson-Robinson came in and played, and the Browns had 3 turnovers. There was really never much of a chance. But what was really impressive to me is that this Browns defense had been number 1 in basically every category going into week 4. 51-6 was the combined score at home. They led the league in fewest yards allowed per game by 90 yards, fewest points allowed per game, fewest pass yards, rush yards, basically every category. And Lamar comes into this game and just plays like an absolute MVP. Without Odell Beckham Jr., without Rashad Bateman, without Ronnie Stanley. There were so many injured players on Baltimore that for them to go in and bully Cleveland the way they did, I know Watson was out, but it was still impressive to see this offense hum against a defense that most people couldn't do anything against in Cleveland.
Yeah, but I said this last week on the preview show. This division looked like it was going to be tight, and this was a huge game for both teams. Baltimore awful loss to Indianapolis was going to come into this game all systems go, and that's what happened.
Even down multiple men,
especially when you go in here against the backup QB. You gotta have that mentality that we have to win this game. Divisional game on the road, we can steal this game, and they got the job done big time.
Yeah.
I mean, before this game, the Browns defense had given up 1 touchdown. In this game, they gave up 4.
Sheesh.
So, I mean, I think at this point, you have to start wondering whether there's anyone that can really challenge the Ravens in the division. I get that might sound premature, but Jack, you've seen what we've seen from the Steelers. We've seen what we've seen from the Bengals. Right, Joe Burrow doesn't look right. Wow. They're going to have to sit him for a while. And I mean, the Ravens won handily on the road. And if Deshaun Watson's not good, this team's not going anywhere. Right, the Ravens have the best record. They're 2-0 in the division so far, both on the road, by the way. Right, they went into Cincy and won, then they went into Cleveland and won. It's tough for me to see who can compete with the Ravens in the AFC North at this point, unless somehow Matt Canada gets fired and they bring in prime Joe Brady. I don't even know where he is now.
They have, and the Ravens have the best quarterback at the moment. Joe Burrow looks like a shell of himself right now. And arguably the best defense, because everyone would have said Cleveland going into this, but the Ravens go in there and, I mean, again, against Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but they look awesome. Ziggy, we were talking on the phone earlier today. The odds to win the AFC North, the odds-on favorite are the Ravens at -150 right now. Browns are +320, Bengals +700. And the Steelers +750. So you can take a look at what Vegas is saying, and they're very confident that the Ravens are going to run away with this thing.
I mean, you look at this last game. These are the types of games that the Ravens. This is why they pay Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
and he's
go into Cleveland and win.
Yep.
Go into Cincinnati and win. I mean, right now the other games they have against, I would say the Browns and the Bengals are both bigger threats than Pittsburgh at the moment. No offense, you guys are just in a tough spot.
We'll say. We beat the
But
Browns.
against the 2 teams that I believe are the biggest challenges in the division, they went in there and handled pretty easily. Now you get them at home later in the season. Baltimore's looking really good. Ziggy, what were some of those numbers we had on Cincinnati? Just saying their struggles right now, because seeing them at +700 has got to be eye-opening for a lot of people. I'm sure Vegas is pulling in a lot of bets on the Bengals to win the division, because people are used to them just succeeding over the past 2 years.
I mean, I wouldn't touch that. They look bad.
Well, I wouldn't touch it, but you have to imagine someone who just kind of casually follows the NFL and isn't paying too much attention looks at that as Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
+700?
Why not?
And it might be worth a sprinkle. But what were the numbers on their win totals? Wasn't it crazy?
Yeah, no. So, we're not talking preseason win totals, right? We're talking current win totals in the NFL. Given what we've seen. And so, where are the Bengals at? Well, the Bengals are at 8.5 wins. I'll tell you some other teams that are at or around 8.5 wins. Titans, 8.5. Buccaneers, 9.5. Steelers, 8.5. Minnesota Vikings, 8.5.
Well, that smashed the over.
Same with us.
Jacksonville Jaguars, 8.5. Packers, 8.5. Right? A lot of teams that people thought weren't going to be any good, or frankly haven't shown anything. I mean, the Falcons. Did you see what we saw from Desmond Ridder? They're at 9.5. Vegas would rather have the Desmond Ritter led Falcons than the Joe Burrow led Cincinnati Bengals. Like, this is insane, but this is what Bengals fans are faced with. They're faced with a team that, frankly, since Jamar Chase came in, hasn't really suffered from much adversity at all. That's coming off back-to-back AFC championship appearances, and they're plus 200 to make the playoffs. It's that bad this fast.
I think they're dead.
Yeah,
it's week 4, but I seriously think they're dead.
There's no reason to believe they're going to turn it around. They look horrible.
The schedule just gets harder.
Burrow looks awful. They look awful.
This must make you feel pretty good.
That makes me
right?
feel great. Well,
Ziggy,
I mean, he's my fantasy could be. So do
you have the schedule in front of you, Ziggy, that they have coming up? We mentioned this yesterday on the show. Yeah, but they still have Kansas City. They still have Buffalo. There's a lot of really difficult games for Cincinnati.
They just lost by 20 to Tennessee.
Yeah, mauled.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this Tennessee team, but we'll talk about them. But the next 4 weeks, they're at the Cardinals. You got to win that.
Hey, Josh.
And they host the Seahawks, at 49ers, host the Bengals. Or, excuse me, host Bills. And then, even setting that aside, right, they still have to go to Arrowhead. They still have to play at the Steelers. And I don't care what we've seen from the Steelers, that's going to be a tough game.
Hell yeah.
Right? They have to go to Baltimore. Like, there's so many things that this team has to do.
There has to be 8 losses on that schedule right now if you go through. There has to be at least 5 more
I think it's already
losses.
there at 3.
Yeah. You have to imagine they lose 5 more when you got... And they have the Jaguars too, right?
They have the Jaguars. They have the Texans. As weird as that is to say, hosting the Texans suddenly sounds kind of scary.
Well, for Jack,
how CJ Stroud has been playing.
Don't say the Texans.
Yeah, don't say CJ Stroud. You might freak him out here.
Stroud is 10 times better than Pickett. It's sad.
No, I mean
it's tough. But when you look at the Bengals and what they have to face, and the up and down nature of Cleveland, plus Pittsburgh being quite bad,
we beat Cleveland.
The Ravens. Yeah,
so they're up and down too if we're up and down. Or they're bad if we're down. Or we're bad if they're bad.
You know what?
They're bad if we're
the
bad.
Ravens are in a great spot, and I think all 3 of us predicted them to win the division, right?
No, the Steelers.
You're the Steelers, but I'm not really counting that.
We're still only a game back.
It is crazy.
No, I mean that's this is the thing, right? So it's easy to crown the Ravens. I certainly think they're going to win the division. What'd you say they were at, Paul, to win the division?
The Ravens minus 150.
I love them at minus 150. It's tough for me to see how they lose it. But, they're only 1 game ahead. If Deshaun Watson can get things together, this Browns team can win. I mean, if Kenny Pickett can somehow get things together, the Steelers can win.
There's still very talented teams in the AFC North.
It's just the Ravens are the only team that so far has really shown they're any good.
Well,
and that's a surprise.
That's also the one reason why the loss to the Colts is so confusing, and it's because Baltimore can fall apart.
Yeah, when
last year they fell apart.
We've seen them fall apart. They've looked a couple times. They've looked very, very good. This is the team to beat in the AFC North, and they tanked.
That's why it feels like, even though right now I'm pretty confident the Ravens take the division, and there's still so much football left, and injuries can happen. Baltimore already has a plethora, but if the Ravens can just keep playing like this or close to this level, it should be a runaway, but you never know with them. So you might want to hold on. I'm confident if I'm a Ravens fan, but every now and then you lose to Gardner Minshew. It's like, what the hell's happening?
Everything changes
week
game
by
game, week by week, day by day. Because we were saying last week, Baltimore lost at home to the Colts.
And you were in first.
And they looked very good against the Browns. They did. It was a great game. Lamar looked good. But it was against Dorian Thompson, his first NFL start.
Hey, with a horrendous game plan.
Hey, a week ago, we were sitting here saying Notre Dame's out of the college football playoff.
But look, next week, if Pittsburgh beats Baltimore at home,
everything flips. You're back in first place, right?
We're back in first. I'm confident again. So you never know. It changes week by week.
Yeah.
I don't think Baltimore's. Don't jump the gun yet on Baltimore to win the division.